Rach, let's get stuck in. It's just happened. We're fresh in the moment. England turn over China 6-1. I was expecting the win. I wasn't expecting a win this big. I wasn't expecting a performance this solid, this confident, this level of thrashing, to be honest. But I mean, maybe the stale performances over the last few games have forced Sarina into sort of making some bigger changes. She's now become the sort of the most consistently inconsistent manager that we're seeing in the tournament, and that seems to be a complete departure from everything that we've known from the Euros. I mean, big changes coming up again. We've seen, Toon being dropped. We've seen Katie Zelem come in, and I just want to say, I mean, I don't want to say I told you so, but I do also have to say I told you so.
She also wasn't a direct replacement, but we'll get on to that.
We don't need to get into the ins and outs of it, okay? We just need to understand that I won that bet, I think, more than anything. But yeah, talk to me. When you first saw that lineup come through, what were you thinking?
When the lineup came out, I'm not going to lie, everyone was just trying to figure out the lineup. Who was where? She's playing? Oh, and she's playing. And Daly, and Russo, and James, and Hemp. Like, it was a bit of a who's going where, what's happening. I feel like even during the game, there were moments where you were like, oh, there's a double pivot, and then we're also playing three at the back. So there's four in the middle, and then it was one of those. It was very fluid. Fluid was the word of the evening, I think, particularly the first half. And I thought it was really interesting the way Zelem and Stanway worked together. Now we have to talk about the bet, because the funniest thing happened in the press room beforehand when I came up to you to tell you that you were right, that Zelem was in the squad, and I was saying, I was right about Millie Bright the first time round. You were right about Zelem the second time round. So, what do? We both owe each other a schooner. Do we call it quits, or do we do the buying of the schooners? We had a whole chat about it. And then literally about 2 minutes later, you come all haughty, stomping over to me and Sophie going, have you seen the team sheet? And I was like, yeah. And you're like, yeah. Zelem started. Just saying. Won the bet. And off you stomp off, back off. And I was like, we literally just had a chat about this for the last 4 minutes about like the bet, what the terms were. Shall we continue it on for the rest of the tournament? And you'd come over all cocky swagger.
In my defense, I had completely misunderstood the conversation and that you were anticipating being wrong, not that you were actually wrong. But I think that was one of the, and I think that the choice that she made in having Zelem, I think, was absolutely the right one. I mean, I don't think she actually put a foot wrong. I know I'm a United fan. I know I'm slightly
Are
biased,
you?
but I mean, it's been a while since we've talked about United. Okay, it's been about 2 months now. It feels like a very long time since we've departed from the WSL. But I think what Zelen provided was exactly what I said. She provided that experience. I mean, the set pieces that she had, the first one didn't really go to plan, but I think she was key, and I think she wasn't subbed off. Sarina was very happy with her performance, played the full 90, and I can see her maintaining that role. But what I think really stood out for me was the defense and the stark change that we saw there, and having the three at the back, and then also having the wing backs as well. Rachel Daly pushing on, it allowed Lucy Bronze to push on, and like lo and behold, you're looking at some of our defensive players actually being a big part of the attack. I mean, Lucy Bronze with that header nearly got it, and also nearly got the follow up. You've got Rachel Daly being able to push on, encouraging Lauren James again to kind of like build her own confidence. And what we saw of Lauren James today, I mean, where do you even start? These aren't just like scrappy little goalmouth kerfuffles. These are worldy tournament winning kind of, golden boot type vibes. I mean, this is almost Ballon d'Or level. I mean, talk to me when you kind of saw these Lauren James goals go in, and also the frustration at one of them being disallowed because of a ridiculous VAR call that I think we'll have to talk about. Yeah.
That first goal from Lauren James was very Lucy Bronze-esque. It reminded me of against Norway in the 2015 World Cup, against Norway in the 2019 World Cup. This one was a bit more 2019 World Cup-esque. That free kick from a similar position, cut back to Lucy Bronze at the top of the box. It was so similar, and Lauren James was there to sweep it in goal. The confidence to do that. I mean, she's not short on confidence, we know that. But doing that on the world stage... Lucy Bronze looked so proud. She's spoken about how she enjoys playing with LJ when they're on the same side. And yeah, she looked like proper proud when she did that. But yeah, she was just on fire today. What, 3 assists, 2 goals? That's crazy for someone her age in your first major tournament. And like, this is the thing, you want to be careful. You don't want to put too much pressure on a young player. But she just seems to be loving life, and she looks so laid back. She's horizontal.
Well, we spoke to Lucy Bronze in the little the mix zone at the end of it, and we were sort of saying, you know, Lucy Bronze and Lauren James seem to have quite a sort of close knit relationship, this kind of like mentoring, best friendship type vibe. And Lucy was saying, you know, she's quite one of the, you know, Lucy herself is quite a reserved character, really, not sort of one for, you know, being, you know, on the TikToks and that kind of thing. And I think she and Lauren James are sort of quite, you know, I think they're sort of like introverted characters, aren't they? And I think she was saying, you know, she reminded her a lot of her. She obviously wanted to protect her and not ensure that, you know, just because she's out there performing to this level, she wants to maintain the fact that there shouldn't be this pressure on her to consistently perform. Like, yeah, she scored 3 goals in 3 games, but the minute you start piling pressure on her and have this expectation that she needs to deliver perfectly every single game, that's when it's not so good. So, yeah, I'm hoping that obviously this is only going to buoy her confidence, and yeah, we're all looking forward to like seeing what she does, because Lauren James' goals are they're just worldies, aren't they? They're just horrendous, just horrendous. But I mean, one of the goals today was offside, was ruled offside. I think the entire Lionesses contingent thought that it was complete tragedy that this goal was taken away from Lauren James. And I think you could say, I think Lucy Bronze looked really disappointed and upset as well, because Lucy Bronze started in the offside position. As the ball kind of came in, she was walking onside. The ball then came back whilst Lucy Bronze was onside, and then as soon as it was struck, I mean, to me, Lucy Bronze wasn't anything to do with that phase of play at all, like in the slightest. But Rach, what did you think about this? Because I thought it was absolutely the wrong call.
So I was down the other end and I didn't see Lucy Bronze, but having looked at it back, I can understand the confusion, because initially I'm like, oh, she's miles offside. But then the ball comes out and comes back in. She doesn't make any attempt to play it. It looks to be cleared by a Chinese defender, which then surely is another phase of play. So then the ball went back out, Lucy Bronze came back onside, and the ball came back in again. So that did cause a lot of confusion. Producer Charlie did say that new rules, he googled it, are in that state if someone is clearly miles offside, then that player should not become onside on every occasion when an opponent moves and touches the ball. But that feels a bit subjective to me, because I feel like the defender had completely cleared the ball. It's not like Lucy had challenged the defender or anything like that. Now, maybe one could say the reason the defender cleared it was because Lucy was behind her, but you know, the goal was behind her. It was a kind of a header towards goal, if you like. So yeah, that, looking at it back, that's one of those where you're pretty sure you know the offside rule until you watch that and you're like, someone needs to explain it to me in a bit more detail.
I think you've explained it absolutely perfectly, mate, in the sense that it didn't make sense to a lot of people. But yeah, you could tell Lucy was visibly a little bit upset by the fact that she'd sort of maybe taken away a goal from her mate. But another thing that I really, really liked about Lauren's performance was not only the fact that she was so tenacious in front of goal, but also I think in the past she's got criticism for not tracking back, for not sort of, you know, being that strong defensively. But this game, I think we saw Lauren James track back the absolute. I'd love to see what her stats are saying, because she was there. She was defending set pieces. She was defending after the set pieces had initially been cleared. She was defending the second stage of play as well. She was going out to ensure that second crosses weren't coming in. I mean, this was a Lauren James who really wanted to keep her shirt.
So for me, I was down that end in the first half, and I was thinking that exact same thing to myself, where I was like, I am seeing a lot of her down here in front of me. Like, she is coming back, she is defending, she is putting in those tackles. You know, I was really impressed with her tracking back today. The one thing I will say is, don't ever kick a ball over the side of the pitch on purpose, even if you're trying to delay an opponent or whatever it is. It's not worth it. Hit a photographer. The photographer's fine, but like, you know, footballers out there, don't do that. It's silly. But yeah, she was very, very good, and it was just one of those, you know, when you have a conversation about something and then it literally happens right in front of you, and you immediately recognize, we need to talk about this and recognize it on the podcast, because she deserves a lot of credit for that.
100%. I think if I was Ella Toon right now, I'd be feeling seriously concerned that my starting minutes or my capacity for minutes were going to be severely reduced going into the latter stage of this tournament. With James performing to that level so strong. She's only the third player since records have been kept in 2011 to be directly involved in 5 goals in a World Cup. And that's astonishing. There was a beautiful sign in the crowd, actually. They panned over to the crowd and it was like, Lauren James is a better player than Reece James. And I think if anything is going to show the world the proof, the evidence of that being so true, I think it was a game like today. I mean, I can only assume that Reece and the rest of the family are completely and utterly proud of what she's achieved. But my God, she is absolutely destroying teams. And she's our leading light, I think, going into this tournament, and all the hype around, whether she was going to perform and stuff seems to have now been fulfilled. So I'm hoping that we sort of see that going forwards. I think also I've got to give a little bit of a mention to the fact that there was this 2 up top situation, which we sort of haven't really seen before. The Hemp Russo double act, which again, Sarina just sort of, I mean, when you think about the transition time between the previous game against Denmark and this game, so many things have changed in terms of 3 at the back, the 2 up front, Toon coming up, Lauren James like making that start. You've got Coombs coming. The use of substitutes was completely different. Coombs coming on at half time, and then the triple sub, like not about 10-15 minutes later, and then Toon getting an opportunity later on in the game in the sort of 75th plus minute. But yeah, I mean, what did you think about the kind of the partnership between Russo and Hemp? Because I thought it worked. Clearly, it was working. I mean, the deliveries coming in, Russo wanted to get on the end of it, Hemp wanted to get on the end of it. It just seemed like those two have been working together for years, and obviously that's not the case.
I've decided to call her Tinker Tailor Sarina Wiegman, because she is not
Nice.
one normally to tinker with teams that we know of. And suddenly all she's doing is actually first team, second team, totally different. Third team, entirely different. Third team to the point where like we were literally sitting here kind of going, who's going to play where? How? What format are they playing? Like, and credit to them to be able to play that with 6 days preparation. I think sometimes England aren't great at adapting in match, but my God, can they take on information from game to game and change quite a lot. I really enjoyed the Russo Hemp partnership. I don't know if it was that it put less pressure on Russo and it allowed Lauren Hemp to be more direct. And we don't often see, sometimes Lauren Hemp is criticised for not being direct enough. I think sometimes she'll come in from the side more, and sometimes like, just go central, go direct. So actually maybe having the two of them took the pressure off each other a little bit. And there just seemed to be, I said this fluidity, a freedom. I have to say there were a couple of hairy moments in defence today, which kind of slightly worried me in terms of, opponents being able to capitalise in that area. Now that could be down to the fact there was 3 at the back and our fullbacks like to get high, but there were moments where Mary Earps had to make some great saves. Thank God there's a world class keeper between the sticks, because that can still happen. Even if you're winning 6-1, those moments can still happen. So that would be the thing I think England maybe need to tighten up. But I think it's so interesting that England are showing they have so much variety that it must make it really difficult for an opponent to set up against, because now they don't really know what to expect. What a weapon.
None of us do. None of us know what the starting lineup's going to be next week. We just don't have it. We don't even know what the formation is going to be anymore. One thing we do need to have a think about, I think, is what we're going to call this partnership between Russo and Hemp. I mean, we've had the Miedemar, with the MEAD Miedemar type situation. But one thing I did think was quite positive. Obviously, we were absolutely storming through the game, scoring goals left, right and centre. The goal drought was officially ended. We did see a lot of, players getting more minutes. Neve Charles coming on, Coombs, who we obviously saw in the previous game, coming on as a sort of Walsh replacement, getting some further minutes as well. And then Toon sort of towards the back end of the game. And England and Kelly. I mean, this is a lot of subs. I mean, out of those, who do you think sort of made the biggest impact? I mean, it is hard to say, I suppose, because the team were already doing so well at that point. It just seemed like we were just doing additionally well. But it's very unlike Sarina just to put players on to give them minutes. But there was a lot more rotation in this game.
I was really impressed with Chloe Kelly. The way she came on. It felt like at some points there were moments where we were like, have we found our super subs? But equally, I think Chloe does well when she starts. But she was unlucky not to get more goals, I thought. And she had such an impact. She scored minutes after coming on. And I mean, it was a horrendous error by the keeper, who just found herself in no man's land and got completely stranded.
It happened.
But yeah, she looked dangerous. I enjoyed. I tweeted this as the substitutes were coming on. I think it was the double substitution or maybe the triple substitution, and the Chinese photographer next to me said, "And number 7 is still on the pitch. Please get rid of her." Like, he was saying all these substitutes and still Lauren James is on the goddamn pitch. Like, take her off. So when I saw Ella Toone lining up near the end, I turned to him and I was like, "She's coming off now." And he went, "It's too late."
The damage has already been done.